All right. Hi, everyone. This is Kiersten Hall with Fox Pointe Publishing. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We are back with Fox Talk for the month of May. We took April off and we're actually going to take June off, but we're here, what's today, May 11th, and we will be back on May 25th with some people. And then we'll be back on, I think, July 13th. But anyway, so thank you for joining us. This is the 45-ish minutes where we sit here and chat with the 6 of the people that make up Fox Pointe. We are now up to 40 people. Can you imagine that? Since January 1st, 2020, we have grown to 40 people. And they are talented, they are creative, they are so cool. And we were just talking about how we really need to have like a caravan. I've told all of these people, whether they like it or not, one of these days, I'm going to hop in my car and I'm going to drive to the far reaches of the earth to come see them and visit them. It's like I've known them forever and a day. We all get along great, which is, a positive. And yeah, so we have some great people on tonight. I'm going to introduce them and then we're going to have them talk about their books and the different projects that either have come out, coming out now, coming out in the future, whatever the case may be. And the rules of the game, because this is the only way that we know that you exist, is you have to put a question in the chat box. That way we know you're there. And you can ask us any question about publications or our books or what it's like to be an author, or I don't know if we even have any illustrators on tonight, but we have a neighbor of an illustrator, so that's something. And yeah, and I'm going to give away 5 books tonight in 45 minutes or 45 50 minutes, so just keep those questions coming and we're going to keep putting the books out. Matter of fact, I will show you the books we have tonight. Okay, we're going to give away A Bobby Bear Goes Fishing. This is from AJ Sullivan. AJ, you want to wave? There you go. We're going to give away an I Do 15 Years of Wedding Misadventures. This is actually my first book I ever wrote. This is a humorous memoir. We are going to give away Through the Garden Window, Family Memories. This is the second of a 13-book series from Paula Morhardt. And boy, she is a busy woman. You've got your 10th book coming out in June, I think. Yeah.
Yes,
she's
11th in July.
She's popping right along. This is Shadow Speak. This is by Raven Ekman, who not only is an author and an incredibly talented one at that, she is actually also one of our top editors here. And I have, without throwing them all on the ground here, I have Give a Little Snuggle by Regina. Regina, you want to wave? There you go. This one just came out on May 5th. This one is 6 days old. And it's a story songbook, and we're going to have her tell all about that. So, okay, I'm going to introduce people, and then we're going to get going here. First one I see on my screen is Paula Morhardt. She hails from Illinois. She's been a friend of mine actually for about 5 or 6 years. Like I said, she's coming up on her 10th book, her 11th book in July, and it seems like one book every month. I mean, she's got a lot of things. Yeah, there you go. Her fan of books. There you go. And anyway, so she'll tell us a little bit about all that stuff. And then on the other side of me is Kathleen Siekman. She has got her first book coming out about January 2022. And she is literally the next door neighbor of one of our illustrators, Kim Hanzo. She hails from Charlotte, North Carolina. AJ Sullivan, her screen says Amy Sullivan. She is literally my neighbor by about 500 yards that way. And we're from Austin, Minnesota. And then I have Katie Bishop on the screen. She is one of our newest authors by about a week and a half, 2 weeks. She hails from Seattle, Washington. Yep. And she's got fun things she's going to tell us about. And then Regina Noel Downing, she is from Decorah, Iowa, and she is the newest author on here. Yes, she's the newest author. So we're going to probably start with her. We'll start picking on her. But yes, I have my screen here. I'm waiting for messages. I should also tell you Brad Farr is on here. He's our Wizard of Oz. He's the one that makes this all possible. Otherwise, we would be sitting here talking to ourselves. So there you go. Anyway, all right, so get your questions, get going in the chat box. Brad is going to throw them over to me, and then I'll start asking when they come in. So Regina, do you want to tell us about your book, Everything About Give a Little Snuggle?
Okay, everything about Give a Little Snuggle. Goodness gracious. Okay, well, so first off, it was written as a song back in 2019. So Give a Little Snuggle was a song first. So fast forward, because it was a song first, of course, you gotta have it in the book. So the book has the sheet music in it for, you know, ukulele chords, and it's got the melody. So you could play it on the piano and chord it. So that's cool. But it was written for I wrote it for my son when he was having a meltdown when he was about 8, and he was just having a meltdown. And, you know, as a parent, sometimes you just let them have their meltdown. And sometimes you feel like that's not the best choice, right? I'm sure everybody gets that. Mm-hmm. And this meltdown, I didn't feel like it was one I just wanted to let him have. I felt like he needed some connection, and I didn't know how to help him. So I just started singing, and this is what came out. This is what came out. And so, and you know, honestly, so I teach private piano, voice, and ukulele. I have my own music studio, the Regina Noel Music Studio. And so I've taught music since 2004. And, but I've never written anything ever. And so it just happened. And by God, within minutes of you know, singing the silly song, my son was like laughing and tickling and snuggling with me, and the world was right again. And I was like, well, gosh darn it, what else can I write? So that next morning, he and his sister were singing the song while they were getting ready for school. And then I caught my daughter singing the song to the dog, like cradling the dog, singing the song to the dog. And I was like, wow, what else can I do? So I started writing other little songs just to help with, you know, transitions for kids. Like singing is a great way to teach littles, just in general, singing and poetry. I mean, it just really works. So this song that I wrote had like everything. It had poetry, it had, you know, like physical touch, it had, you know, the melody. So it just had all of the components to really help connect and calm. So, well, that was 2019. And, you know, fast forward to the pandemic, I had to put all of my students in the studio online. And, you know, I've got like really little students. I've got students anywhere from 4 to, you know, well in their 60s. And so like online is great for most everybody, but it's really can be challenging for littles because they don't have hands-on manipulatives, and that's super important in learning. And I had an adult student come in, and she was like, hey, look at these song storybooks. And she was showing me some from her collection, and I was like, oh, that's what I need to do. And so, you know, I thought that would just be, those song storybooks would be great in online lessons, you know, when the kids need a brain break, and you still want to be engaging in music somehow, so they're having joy with music. And so I was like, wow, okay, so that's what I got to do. I got to turn my little song into a book. And so that, honestly, that next day, I reached out to a local artist. I didn't even know him. I'd been following him on Facebook, and I sent him like a slew of messages on Facebook Messenger. I mean, he probably thought I was completely nuts, but it worked. It worked. He liked what I had to say and you know, my ideas moving forward, and he agreed to illustrate this song and help me, you know, make a book. So he worked on that diligently from April of 2020 through to, you know, the end of the year. And come fall, I started looking for publishers, And I know nothing about books or writing or anything. I mean, that's not what I set out to do with my life. So I didn't know what I was doing, but I was looking into, you know, any publishing company I could find, and many were not even looking at manuscripts till the end of 2021. And, you know, some of the smaller publishing companies I was under impressed with. And then I saw, what's her name? Joanne.
Yeah.
Joanne had written a book, and a mutual friend of ours had shared it on Facebook, and one of her grandsons had done lessons with me. So on a whim, I just reached out to her on Messenger, and I was like, hey, I'm looking, you know, I'm writing a book right now, and I don't know what I'm doing. Got any tips for me for getting it published? And she's like, hey, I'll talk to my publisher. And I shot her some pictures, and then you know, Kiersten was like, well, have her send everything over. So that's what I did. The next day, I just sat down for an hour and a half and just typed my whole spiel and sent everything I had. And by the end of the day, they were like, Kelsey and Kiersten were like, let's go. And then it was like, woo.
Well, yeah, that was, I think, December 30th or 31st. And then January 1st, December 30th, I heard from you. December 31st were like, cool. And then January 1st, you were like, let's do it. And by January 10th, she was like, oh my gosh, this is moving so fast. And yeah, but you know, we pop around here. There's, you know, there's no breaks around here, no coffee breaks. Forget that.
No, that's great. That's great, because, you know, it's such an important message for like everybody right now with the pandemic. You know, like, kids don't understand what's going on, and you know, physical touch is so important to children. I should also note that the book has a section for parents and caregivers, just a one-page easy read of why positive physical touch is so important to our kiddos, right? That's it. It's an easy read, a little support for parents, because, well, you know, so I'm a huge Fred Rogers fan, and he's all about, you know, early childhood development. And so am I, because I fully get from my life experiences and from, you know, working with all of the people that I do, that it's those early experiences that can make or break it for us. But it's not just the children we have to pay attention to. It's the parents and caregivers. They need the support and the tools to assist their child, because honestly, they're doing the best they can in every circumstance. Okay. So, you know, when they don't have good tools, then, you know, that's just how it goes. Okay. So
oh, I'm sorry. Well,
no,
I'm going to quick say, Kathleen, tell your neighbors that we are on the group page on Facebook, Books by Fox Pointe Publishing. It's the group page.
Okay.
Yeah, and that if they get on and they don't see it, if they look under more and the drop down box, click on videos, the video should pop up. But Regina, what were you going to quick say?
Oh, I don't even, just that, you know, so the book is like a real tool, not just to help kiddos and help parents connect, but to help them understand about the things that they can do and why it's important.
Yep.
So, you know,
okay.
It's what I would have had when my kiddos were little, because I didn't know what I was doing, and I was struggling with my own stuff, you know. So yeah.
So there you go. And actually, for anyone who's interested, you can get on to foxpointepublishing.com, which is FOXPOINTE publishing.com. The E is, you know, because we're fancy. I mean, there you go, we're fancy. And you'll see, give a little snuggle, click on that. That'll bring you to the webpage and tell you more about that. All right, I don't have any questions yet. So if you are joining us, the rules of the game is, the rules are, there you go, you need to ask a question in the chat box. Otherwise, we have no idea if you're watching, and you can ask any question you'd like. And I'm giving away 5 books tonight. So that's pretty cool. but I can only do that if I know you're watching, which means you have to ask a question. So there you go. All right, the next person I'm going to pick on is Katie Bishop. She is, yeah, well, she's trying to hide there. I understand. She joined Fox Pointe about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, maybe 2.5 weeks ago, something like that. And I'm going to have her tell us all about her book. And it's going to be fun, and it's set to come out, figured January, February of 2022. And okay, Katie, take it away.
Well, I'm afraid my book isn't so wholesome and snuggly.
That's okay.
I do have a preview cover here, so I'll give you a little bit of idea. So it is a noir, and it's with cats. So it's a kitty noir. It's called Love and Murder. Now, this title comes from my husband. He was playing with our little girl cat, Penelope. I told you this story already, Kiersten. He had one of those feather on a stick toys, and he's waving it around at her. And he said, you know, cats only know two things, love and murder. And I remember sitting there thinking, wow, that would be a really great book, a great opening to a novel about two cats named Love and Murder. So that's where it kind of started. And it's an adult book. It's literary fiction. It's a noir. So it's dark and broody. There's a lot of murkiness. These cats get into a whole lot of trouble. They get pulled into that underworld that noir is so famous for, and they've got to figure it out. And one of the things that we talked about when I first came on was this book is really about surviving the worst thing that you can imagine that can happen to you with your soul intact. So,
yeah.
So it is, like I said, dark and broody, but it's still a whole lot of fun. There's a lot of characters. I just love characters. So there's tons. There's a ferret who plays the femme fatale. He's the one who pulls them kind of into that murkiness. There's a Labrador who is kind of this oracle. He kind of pops in and out, and a whole lot of cats. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Oh, I'm really looking forward to watching it. Well, there you go. Maybe it'll be turned into a movie.
Let's hope,
there you go.
Put it out there in the universe, you know.
Exactly. Well, as soon as I put it on Facebook and the Twitter and Instagram and whatever, I had a couple messages like, when is this going to be out? I have to read this. When do I get to read this?
That is exciting. That's so exciting. I'm so flattered.
So, yeah. And matter of fact, I'm going to go right over to Paula, whose nickname is Mama Cat, as I explained earlier. Katie. Paula can tell us all about her books. She is a busy lady. All right, Paula, take it away.
I am. The latest one that came out was Family Memories. And this is a cookbook. It is the second in a series. There's going to be 13 altogether. And the first 4 have short essays about gardening and in the kitchen, and then recipes. And the recipes all come from the recipe boxes of my mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother. And so some of them are quite, some of them are quite old. And we have copies of the original recipes, as well as then we type them out. The other one that just came out is The Best Magic of All. And this is about Toe Stubber Troll, who has a horrible problem, and Wise Crone helps him with it. And there's going to be more books coming from Gray Valley. We're going to learn more about the inhabitants of Gray Valley in the future. The one I did with Kim was 5 Friends Deep, which was a great deal of fun. It's about, as you can see, 5 friends and the things they get into and all the trouble they get into. My first children's book was Sweet Sour Cherries, and I actually got the idea for this one watching some little rabbits in my yard and wondering, just because one was very naughty and he kept taking off, and Mama would stomp her feet and then he'd come tearing back. And I thought, well, now what would happen if he was really naughty? I also have 2 books of poetry, Days of Days and Night Maze. There will be a 3rd one coming out probably next spring to go with this set. And then my original books were Widow's Walk and Widow's Tears of Sorrow. So I have in June, I got to try and get them straight now. In June, Is This My Grandma will be coming out. And it's a story about a brother and sister that go to the hospital, and brother doesn't think that's grandma because that doesn't look like his grandma. Doesn't have tubes in her arm and tubes in her nose, and she doesn't cry when the nurse comes and gives her a shot, and he doesn't think that's really his grandma. But sister remembers when grandma was in the hospital before, and by the end of the book, does he really know that it's grandma? You have to read the book and see. It's coming out in June. And then July 1st, the third in the Through the Garden Window series will be coming out, Season of Harvest 2, which will again be another 12 essays with recipes again from that sales wonderful recipe boxes. And the last one in that first 4-book series or 4-book set will be Season of Celebrations. So that will be coming out later in the year. So
And
I'm
I will-
busy.
Yes, she is. And I will tell you 2 things. First of all, for the people that live around Paula, what she's doing is not only researching these recipes to make sure they're not copywritten or trademarked or whatever the case may be, but also to make sure that they're still, that
Usable.
the recipe cards are right. Yeah, and that they're good. And so she makes all this food, and then she wanders around town and gives it away to everyone. And I'm like, gosh, I wish I lived about, 4 hours closer would be helpful. But yeah, and I will tell you, Paula is an excellent cook, chef. She comes from
Thank
a
you.
whole line of it. And one of the very first, probably the first time I met Paula, which was back in 2015, I think.
Long time ago.
She has a recipe for mulled cider, and oh my gosh, it is good. And I asked her, what's the recipe? What's the recipe? And she looked at me and she goes, it's, a lifelong family secret, and something to, you would have to pry it out of her cold hands. She's never going to give it away. Well, there it is in the book. There you go. It is an awesome. She's excellent.
The other thing I discovered about these old recipes is because these women are women from way back when, our foremothers, they knew what the temperature was and they knew how long to cook it, and they never bothered to write it down. So I have to try all these recipes out, of course, because I need to figure out how long. So I'll make like cookies, and I'll put 4 on the baking sheet, and I'll put it in, at 350, start it at 350, put it in for 10 minutes, bring them. I throw a lot of cookies away. I know.
Oh my gosh. Cookie Monster
the
would be
best-
unhappy.
The best recipe I found, and I don't remember if it's in the first or second book, but it was Ma's Old Hotel Cake. And it was in my grandmother's. It was in my grandmother's recipe box, and it was from my great grandmother who used to work as a cook in a hotel in a nearby town. And it is the easiest, best tasting, made from scratch cake I have ever had in my life. So if you get a chance to get that second book and get that one, that's really good. And then you have to buy the first one so you can get the mulled cider.
Well, exactly. And matter of fact, this is one of the books we're giving away tonight. So if you are watching this, please put a question in the chat box. Otherwise, we have no idea that you exist. And maybe you could win this book. So there you go. Anyway, all right. So let's see. I picked on Regina, Katie, and Paula. Oh, well, Kathleen. We will pick on Kathleen and her typewriter, which looks great behind you. We've been told that the typewriter is a needed necessity. So,
I thought it was wine bottles at first.
well, yeah.
Looked like you were in a cellar or something. Looked very nice.
That is also a needed accessory. So.
Oh yeah.
But Kathleen is she's been with us. I gotta think. Today is what, May? You came on probably March, I'm gonna guess.
March or April, something like
Okay.
that.
Yep. And so like I said, she's our the next door neighbor of Kim Hanzo, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her books.
Yeah. So it's The Adventures of Belle, and Belle happens to be my dog. And the intent is that this would be a series, and she goes through our neighborhood meeting a lot of the different creatures that live either A, in my backyard, or B, in the lake that is part of our neighborhood. And it's showing how connecting with others gives you that sense of community and facilitates learning about others. And it's not, an overt, this is how you do it and this is how you meet. It's just how, the process of meeting somebody new and what do they do, and can you show me so I can experience it? And, those are all the things that, I think we lose in an online environment. And technology and all that stuff, we lose that ability to connect on a human level. And I'm hoping that these books will teach children at an early age, what it's like to connect with somebody on, their level, and to learn about their community.
Well, it should be lots of fun. I've seen, well, first of all, if you get onto Facebook and look up author Kathleen Siekman, she posts pictures of all the various animals that are in her neighborhood, and she goes out for walks and takes pictures. I like looking at all the animal pictures you've got going on over there. Like I've told Kim, you guys live at the zoo.
Yeah, we have competing pictures.
Yeah, you guys, and a lot to draw off of.
Yeah.
Okay, and we have questions. Yay. Okay. But before I get to that, Kathleen's books will be out starting, figure about January 2022. And how many books do you think you have in that series?
I'm going to be honest with you. I've only written the one,
Oh, well,
and I have the ideas and have started my second one. For me, it's a bit of a process because writing is not something that has ever come very natural to me. I'm a storyteller, but I've never really sat down and put pen to paper. So it's just kind of this process that I go through. I have to think and mull and talk about the ideas and then see if they make sense, and then eventually get it on paper.
I think we all feel that.
I started the second one in my spare time.
I understand. And someone was saying that I think all of us have experienced that.
That was me.
Yeah. Yeah, even this last Sunday, I was like, you know what? I started this book over 3 years ago. And I'm like, okay, Mother's Day, we're gonna make a goal because I have to have to-do lists and I have to hit goals. Not that that ever really always works. And I pulled this manuscript out and I was reading through it. I'm like, oh yeah, wow, boy, I was smart 3 years ago. And then it kind of frayed out, and I'm like, oh, there's more work involved here. Never mind. Okay, so we changed course on that. Okay, so. All right, the first question up, Wendy is asking Paula if you are writing about people from Lena, Illinois.
I am. Family Memories, the last one that come out, a lot of my family came from Lena. Paul Hills, Kemperts, Basingers all came from Lena. And so a lot of the recipes and the stories that I have in the books come from those my foremothers, so to speak, that were indeed raised in Lena.
Okay. Well, does Lena have like a, I don't know, like a historical, or the county have a historical society that would encompass Lena?
Yes. And I don't know Lena as well as I know Stockton, obviously, because I live in Stockton, but Lena does have I know they have a museum, and I think they do have a historical society. I know Stevenson County does, because I've done a lot of my genealogical research.
You need to go over and say howdy and introduce yourself in those recipe books. I bet they would be very interested in those. Okay, Cindy, a mutual friend of myself and Paula's. How many kids' books are you doing?
Me?
Yeah.
Till I run out of ideas.
Yeah.
There's Chelsea is editing one right now, and I think there's another one going to Raven to be edited very shortly, and Kayla is illustrating a third one.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's a few more coming. Yeah.
Well, and I will point out too that when we first started with the poetry with Paula's books, and she had a journal memoir and she had her poetry, she's like, I have this idea for a children's book. I'm like, let's see it. And she's like, I never thought I would ever be writing kids books ever in my wildest dreams, and she's good at it. Her books are excellent. We have other questions, but before we do that, I'm going to now pick on AJ Sullivan. Her name is Amy, but she told me way back over a year ago now, when we first met, she wanted to have a pen name, and so it went to AJ. And that's all I've ever known her as. And so even when she's in my backyard and we're chit-chatting on the back patio, I call her AJ, and she's like, I gotta get used to this. My name is Amy. I'm like, you came up with this.
I did.
All right, so AJ, if you want to tell everyone about you and your books.
Okay, well, I've lived a lot of places, done a lot of jobs. And back when my children were in their 30s now, when I was putting them to bed, they wanted bedtime stories. So Bobby Bear was born. And Bobby Bear Goes Fishing was the very first story. And I have for years wanted to get it published and couldn't find anyone willing to illustrate it. Well, I think Kayla Olson did a wonderful job. So, and the feedback that I've gotten, one family just read it and their mom had them do a book report on it.
Oh, very cool.
And yeah, and one of the questions she put on to answer on the book report was, what do you like about the book and what do you not like about the book? And the youngest child, under where it said, what do you not like about the book? He said, there's nothing I don't like about the book. And very often what I get, the feedback is that after they read it, the child wants to immediately go fishing.
Oh, yeah.
So that's Bobby fishing. And that's not a whale or a shark. I know it looks big, but then after that is Bobby Bear Becomes a Big Brother. And I've gotten a lot of good feedback on that, especially for families where there's a new child about to be born or has just been born. It's a way for them to kind of adjust to the whole idea.
Yep.
Now, the next book coming out is Bobby Bear Graduates Kindergarten, and it's going to be out very beginning of June. Illustrations are great. We're having fun with it. And then I've already done the first draft of Bobby and the Bully Bears, where we deal with bullying. And then the other one-off book that I have is called Finkel and Franny, based on a true story. When we were driving from California to New York on the 92 flies actually came into the car while we were opening the door at a diner, and they went from Yellowstone National Park to Buffalo, New York with us. True story. So this one is for older children, so the illustrations are in black and white, and there aren't as many illustrations because it's for older children.
Yeah.
And I have a whole lot of books to write.
Yes, she does. She tells me she's got four drawer file cabinets filled with manuscripts, all manually written out from like the
on the typewriter.
Oh, okay.
You know, like that thing that Kathleen has.
Yeah, that Kathleen, that looks like she's sitting in a winery.
Yeah.
So it's on my mind.
All right. Now from Chris, who actually happens to be Amy's son.
Yes.
Yeah. Do
Hi,
you
Chris.
have any? Do you have any advice for aspiring writers or anything you would want to say to your younger self when you first started? All right, Regina, I'm going to pick on you. How would you answer that? Advice for aspiring writers or anything you'd want to say to your younger self when you first started?
Ooh. Gosh, I don't know, because I don't know, because I didn't I didn't aspire to do this.
It's an accident.
It was an accident. I guess now I've got like other ideas and stuff. So after I came up with that initial song, I came up with several others that are going to be turned into books as well. So I'll have a whole series. So I guess advice would be just like, for me, when I decided to do it, I just did it. And there was, nothing was going to get in my way.
Mhm.
And I think that you kind of just have to have that attitude, because it's never a straight and narrow path, right? Like we want it to be. I think thinking more about the end result, the end goal, instead of thinking about it has to happen a certain way, or it's not going to happen, or I don't want to do it, right? Don't fixate on it having to happen only this certain way. Fixate on the end result. And when things come up, then you can be like, oh, well, that didn't work. Okay, what are we going to do to navigate this?
Yep.
So just keeping the end result there, in view, and not worry when things get in your way. You just have to, like, don't get frustrated about that. Just put your thinking cap on and get creative, because when you get frustrated, you literally can't think.
That's true.
So yeah, through this whole process for me, I've just stayed like creative and like, oh, well, this is a new problem. How are we going to deal with this?
All right, Katie, what would your advice be to aspiring writers, or what would you have told your younger self?
Well, we were talking earlier about making time to write, and then when you get to it, how you feel about it, the mental blocks that kind of come. And what I've learned over the years that I've been working on this book is, how like there's a sleep hygiene where you're supposed to do certain things in certain ways so you get a good night's sleep? Well, I consider it writing hygiene. And it's where you have what you need, a good night's rest, you're surrounded by creative things, you got to kind of limit distractions, but just find that space where you feel creative and productive, and keep doing what you need to do so that you get in that headspace. I find that it's kind of a gear that my brain switches over to that creative side. And sometimes it's hard to get into it, but once you get into the groove, it's good. But if you've got, too much else going on, at least for me, it's really hard to focus. So that would be my advice, is to like really get your writing hygiene down, get your brain in gear, and then it's just about the grind after that. It really is. It's putting in that work every day. It's not a sprint, especially writing a novel is a marathon. And so it's being able to be not just productive on one day, but consistently productive. And it takes time to develop your creative process. My husband, who is actually doing the book cover, so that's exciting. He's an artist and illustrator. And when he was in school, they had one class where the professor made them draw 100 thumbnails for every illustration. And that drove him crazy. He hated it. It wasn't his process, but that was this professor's process. And so really developing your own creative process that helps you find your voice as a writer. And for me, it's surrounding myself with all sorts of creative things, music, movies, TV, books that just feed it constantly. So that's my long-winded answer on that.
Are you the one that likes the fluffy pillows?
That's me.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
I'm like, someone
imperative. I don't do desks. I can't. It's too confining. I have to be relaxed and comfortable with a cup of tea. It's a cliche. It's totally.
I was like, someone just recently told me about fluffy pillows. I'm pretty sure that was Katie. Okay.
Yeah, that was me.
Okay. All right, Kathleen, what is your advice to aspiring writers and to your younger self?
So I guess to my younger self, it would be, don't be afraid of any hidden talents you might have, and don't be afraid to explore them. I, in a million years, never thought I would write something that would potentially, that I thought about would be published and now is going to be published. It's just not something I thought about. And, had I thought about that in my younger days, I may have more things, already in queue and, ready to write. And so don't be afraid of those hidden talents. And then what I would tell someone is that you're never going to have a good time to write. I mean, for me, at least, there's never a good time to write. So I could be walking down the street and think of an idea. Well, I've got well, you can't see it, but I've got my cell phone and I go to the notes page and I write the idea. You just the quick little idea. So I don't forget it. I did it the other day. There was a Facebook post and it made me think of an idea for another book. Unrelated to Belle, just something completely different, still a children's book, but I wrote it down so I can come back to it later and say, okay, this one sentence, let me think about that and how can I develop it? So you have the resources, you have a phone, you've got a notebook, you've got, whatever, and just use those to jot ideas down. And then eventually the story will come and the story will build.
And yeah, once you start the creative fountain, oh my gosh, it never turns off and it will keep you up at night. And yeah. All right, Paula, your advice to aspiring writers.
Right. I have a jar and I put a ton of little pieces of paper in with 1 or 2 words on it. And I make myself every day, I will draw one out and I will write on that subject. Now, I called my son one day and I said, I need a subject to write on. Give me a subject. And he was out hunting morels out in the timber and he said, mushrooms. And I know he expected me to write something about out hunting mushrooms and foraging or whatever. Instead, I wrote a poem about the Toad King because that's what got into my head. So write every single day. The other thing is I use a personal recorder because when I'm driving, I can just flip the switch while I'm driving, speak into it, give my idea, and then I can come back to it later on. And the piece of advice I would give to my younger self, don't doubt yourself. Because I was, 60 years old before I wrote my first book because I didn't think I could. And then circumstances happened that I wrote. So don't doubt yourself. That would be the strongest advice. That and write, always write, every day write.
And before we go to Amy to give her motherly advice to her son, I will add that don't let other people tell you what you can and cannot do. If you have it in your soul, in your fibers of being that you know you can write something, do it. People, all the Debbie Downers, all the naysayers will be like, oh, well, you can't do that, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you just go sit over there. I'm going to go over and write. And then also never throw anything away that you write, because even if it's like, oh my gosh, that's not good, you could still come back and pilfer from it later too. All right, and so Amy, what would you say to your son Chris about aspiring writing and all that good stuff in your younger self?
Don't wait. Don't wait. If you're going to write it now. Because that's something that's in you, and it's, at least for us, it runs in the family, and it's like we are driven to write. And I am sorry that I waited as long as I did to get things published, but circumstances weren't all aligned to do it. My son is very creative. He's an actor, and so he writes scripts, okay, sometimes, and he's a stand-up comedian. So he's very, very creative, all on his own. But I know, Chris, there's a book in you. Don't wait to write it.
Yeah. Okay, and I'm gonna I'll go back to Wendy in a minute, but there's Chad has asked, anyone know where all these authors are from? Paula is from Northern Illinois. I am currently from Southern Minnesota. Kathleen is from Charlotte, North Carolina. Regina is from Decorah, Iowa. Katie is from Seattle, Washington. And Amy/AJ Sullivan, she is my next door neighbor, 500 yards that way, also from Austin, Minnesota. We do have authors, however, from Marquette, Michigan, Orland Park, Florida. Oh, I forgot the name of the town. New Jersey is one of our newest authors as well. We have lots of them in Minnesota, Iowa, South Dakota, North Dakota. Yeah, it's an incredible group of people. And if you have a chance, foxpointepublishing.com, FOXPOINTE publishing.com, look on professionals in the navigation bar, and that'll flip up the 40 incredible people that make up Fox Pointe right now. Extremely talented people. And I'm going to before I get, oops, I think my back is going out. But anyway, through the guard window. What I'm going to do is everyone who's asked questions, I will get a hold of you through Facebook and give you the option of what book you want. But we've got Through the Garden Window family recipes. There's about 12 of them in here from Paula and all of her relatives, generations of relatives. They're awesome cooks. I've got Shadow Speak from Raven Ekman. She is not only a very talented author, she is also one of our top editors here at Fox Pointe. I do 15 years of wedding misadventures. This is actually my first book. It's a humorous memoir. I used to shoot professional wedding videography, and I have personally been to 1,403 weddings. So let's just say I've seen stuff, and it's in that book. I also have Bobby Bear Goes Fishing. This is the first of the Bobby Bear series by AJ Sullivan, and it's what, an 11-book series now, right? Yeah. Okay, and the third one's coming out, and the second one is already out, and then I have Give a Little Snuggle, and this is by Regina. This is her first book that came out on May 5th, which was just last week. And then your second one comes out in November, right? I think so. Okay. All right, and so Wendy has a question. Okay, very inspiring, the great work you have all done. Thank you very much. Will you keep us posted as your books are released? Yes, the best place to find everything is Facebook, on the Facebook group page that you're probably watching this video. I post anywhere from 1 to maybe 5 or 9 different things. And again, look on our website. I update the website all the time with all the different places that they might be at, or the events, or their giveaways, or in the news. It's kind of like their baby book. That's kind of how I see it. It's a baby book of, of all the things you do as an author, there we go. Okay, Kim is watching, and she says, will Kathleen tell us who Belle meets in book 1 and 2?
Belle meets Henry the Heron in book 1. And then book 2, it is the Beavers. Beverly and I can't remember. Beverly, I think it's Beverly Beaver is the female, and I can't remember what I was calling the male yet. I'm in that early stages where names flip-flop and change, but yeah.
Okay. Well, she's just wondering who she has to illustrate.
She has to illustrate.
There you go.
The Beaver
Karen and the Beavers. There you go. Okay, Wendy. Okay, so we've already done that. We've done that. We did chat. Okay, Cheryl is saying, how many times were you turned down before you got published? Paula.
I did not try to get published until I published on Amazon first, self-published on Amazon with my 2 first books. And then I got hold of Kiersten and I said, so how much is this publishing a book thing? And she said, send me something. And so I sent her something and she said, oh, we're going to do this. I said, okay.
And there you go.
And there we go. Although I did send a lot of things when previously 2 magazines and the likes. And I've got a stack of rejection slips as high as me. And a couple of larger publishing companies. And it was good because they were bad things that I sent them. I look at them now and I'm like, what was I thinking when I sent them this? So rejections are just part of it.
Well,
There's stuff that,
Oh, I'm
yeah,
sorry. Well,
I'm sure there's things that I'm going to send that Chelsea's going to go, oh, no.
well, I will point out too that Paula was just had a poem included in Wink, Writers in the Know. It's a literary magazine out of the Minneapolis-St. Paul area.
Women in the Know.
Oh, I thought the magazine was Writers in the Know, and I thought, well, whatever. Someone is in the know, and her piece is in it. And she also, last summer, had a standing thing on Northern Illinois Public Radio.
And in fact, I have another poem coming up on there later on this month.
Yeah. So,
Poetically Yours. It's a podcast that they do on Fridays.
Yeah. So basically don't give up, because here we are, Northern Illinois radio and literary magazines and 10 books. And oh my gosh, she is a busy woman. Regina, did you ever send your book in? Well, yeah, you were looking for publishers.
I was looking for publishers, and I either found that they weren't even accepting manuscripts until the end of 2021, or I just wasn't impressed with what they had to offer. And so when I connected with Joanne, and she's like, hey, I'll talk to my publisher.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was it. It was just like that.
Yep.
I liked them, and I guess they liked me.
And there you go. We adopted her into our little Fox Pointe crew. Katie, how about you?
I submitted for a month or two, and I got about 5 turn downs and 4 acceptances.
Mm-hmm.
And I went with you guys at Fox Pointe because, what can I say? I just love you.
Well, thank you. No,
I wanted an indie publisher.
Yeah.
I really love that, it's women based and we're all working together to lift each other up. And I loved all your different kinds of books. And Love and Murder, it is such a different book.
Mm-hmm.
It's traditional in a lot of ways. It's got a lot of very traditional drama elements. It's a noir. It's got elements of Shakespearean stuff. It's but it's not in the mainstream. And so I wanted a publisher who could really know what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm so glad I'm here.
I'm looking forward to just popping that everywhere. I mean, yeah. And I will say too, again, and I know I've said this on Facebook and all social medias and all these videos, and probably to the point it's like, okay, we got it. But everyone at Fox Pointe works so wonderfully together. I mean, to me, it's fate. I mean, we have found each other from all corners of the earth, and we work so well together. So that's a wonderful thing. All right, Kathleen.
So I got stalled in the process when I wrote the first book, and I apologize if you hear my dog barking, if you hear Belle barking in the background.
Belle. Yeah.
And I wrote the story, and then I just didn't know what to do with it, and I got overwhelmed with the process, overwhelmed with the number of regular publishers, indie publishers, self-publishing, and I just didn't know what to do. And then Kim Hanzo moved next door to me. Mm-hmm. And we started chatting, and we were kind of going back and forth, and I didn't really want to use that relationship. And one day I went to her with, I got this one publisher who said, they would read my book for me, but I don't know really anything about this business, and if this is really on the up and up, and what do you think? And she had some concerns. I mean, and my concern was they wanted me to pay a fee for them to read my book before they would even tell me if they would work with me to publish. So that kind of turned me off a little bit. And that's when she said, I talked to Fox Pointe, and they said to submit it, and just, she's like, not giving you any one way or the other, but just give it a shot. And I did. And again, that's where it's, the hidden talents. Everybody here has hidden talents. And, I think you guys are a hidden talent in the publishing field, and it's going to be growing, and we're going to do great things. And that's what made me jump off that cliff and say, I'm signing with you.
Oh my gosh, I hope it works. Oh, well, you can imagine how I feel with everything I've put in here. It's like, oh gosh, I hope this works. I hope this works. Yeah. All right. And lastly, AJ, tell us about your publishing journey.
Well, I've been published before, but I never took it seriously for my books. I've had articles published and poems and short stories, but never any of my books. And the large publishers really aren't interested in small children's books until you have a name built up.
Yeah.
And it's almost impossible to get a large publisher to take you on. So so I met a student in the school where I work, and she's an artist, and she said she would be happy to illustrate my book, and she knows this publisher, Kiersten. Mm-hmm. And she ended up not illustrating my book, but I still stuck with Kiersten, and I think it's going to be the perfect job for me when I retire. It's very busy, so between my regular job and this, I don't have much time for much anything else. But that's okay. That's okay. And this is self-publishing is not held in the highest esteem. Self-publishing is considered second rate. So having an actual publisher work with you elevates your work and gives it more meaning and more cred.
Yeah, that's true. It does. All right, well, we are coming up on an hour. We, as writers, we could keep talking until the cows come home, but we won't do that. We will be back on, today is what, May 11th. So we're going to be back on May 25th, a whole round of new people, I believe. And we will give away more books. What I'm going to do is, of the 5, 6, 7 people that ask questions, I will get a hold of you through Facebook. I'll give you the option of what book you want, and you let me know, and I'll put it in the mail to you tomorrow. It'll be great. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, and thank you to Paula and Kathleen and AJ and Katie and Regina, and actually Brad, who makes this all happen for us. Thank you. If you would like to look at any of our books, all of our authors, that kind of thing, foxpointepublishing.com, again, FOXPOINTE publishing.com. And you can buy through our website, you can buy through Amazon, you can learn about all the different books. Yeah, and if you have a library or a bookstore that does not have any of our books yet, please let them know that they can contact us through our website. They can learn about all the books on our website stuff. We do have a wholesale available for libraries, bookstores, schools, hospitals, gift shops, pretty much any retailer. Just get a hold of us. Really, you can find me at info@foxpointepublishing.com. Anyway, all right, you have a fabulous day in your neighborhood. We will see you again on May 25th. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.